Hi, I'm Lily, and welcome back to my tiny little corner of the internet. About 3 days ago, I finally got out of my reading slump, and I read Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. And today, I want to tell you what I thought about it. This video will be spoiler free, so if you haven't read it yet and you're thinking about reading it, or you're like, that looks maybe interesting, maybe I want to read that, don't worry, you're safe, I'm not going to spoil it. I read Better Than the Movies. I just realized I didn't explain this in the video, but Nothing Like the Movies is the sequel to Better Than the Movies, so that's the book I'm talking about here, is the first book in this duology. About 2 years ago, I think, and I loved it. It was definitely a very rom-com book. Our main character, Liz Buxbaum, is a very hopeless romantic, loves rom-coms and music and all the romancy things in the world. And the book's from her perspective, so we get that kind of, we're looking at the world through those pink goggles, you know? It was a very fun book. When I read it, I was kind of in the mood for a little witty romance moment, and it definitely sufficed. When I heard Nothing Like the Movies was coming out, I was ecstatic. Better Than the Movies, of course, ends with our main couple, Wes and Liz, in their little bubble. In Nothing Like the Movies, we pick up about 2 years after the events of Better Than the Movies, only to find that our power couple, WesLiz, is no longer. They've broken up. Liz has now started her college dream at UCLA, and she is loving it. Wes is also almost living his college dream, but there's something missing from his life right now. Liz. When they broke up, Wes broke Liz's heart, and our hopeless romantic is no longer. But still, that's not gonna stop Wes from trying to get his Libby back. I really enjoyed Better Than the Movies when I read it. I felt a connection to Liz, not only, bright red obvious, literally bright red obvious. Our little Liz is a redhead, and of course, so am I. But beyond that, she has a very deep love for music, and so do I. Music gets me through a lot of my life. She, of course, like I stated earlier, is a huge fan of rom-coms, and so am I. Liz likes to plan out every little detail of her life and be prepared for anything and everything that could possibly go wrong. I am the same way. Liz also has a tendency to freak out, which I might share that trait with her. Lynn Painter's writing also includes a good bit of pop culture references, which as a music and rom-com lover, I definitely appreciate. And being as big of a fan of rom-coms as I am and of music as I am, I usually get every reference she makes, and so it kind of made Better Than the Movies feel a little bit personal for me, and it deepened my connection to it. Bottom line is, I already love Better Than the Movies, so I was interested to see what Nothing Like the Movies had in store. So, my personal thoughts. It's time for the actual point of this video. My personal thoughts on Nothing Like the Movies, in a nutshell, I think it was worth the read. The tones and themes in this book are definitely darker than Better Than the Movies. Like I said earlier, Better Than the Movies was very rom-com-y, looking at the world through those pink, rosy glasses. But with Nothing Like the Movies having that little bit of a darker tone, definitely added realism to the story. And a good part of those darker themes that we see in Nothing Like the Movies added a lot of depth to Wes's character. We got a little bit of these tidbits of who Wes is in Better Than the Movies, but he really started shining in Nothing Like the Movies. We really see who he is now. Better Than the Movies kind of presented Wes as just a 2D character who was there to fall in love with Liz, you know? Didn't really have his own hobbies or his own interests, or he wasn't really his own person in Better Than the Movies. But Nothing Like the Movies really made Wes a person. We do get a split POV in Nothing Like the Movies, which I always love a good split POV. We'll have a chapter that's Liz's point of view, and then we'll have a chapter that's Wes's point of view. With Better Than the Movies, we were already familiar with Liz's thoughts and how she saw the world because everything was from her point of view. But we get to see Wes's point of view as well in Nothing Like the Movies, and so we get to figure out how his brain works, how he sees the world, what are his interests, what are his hobbies, what does he love that's not Liz. We just really got to see who he is without Liz, which I really appreciated. As much as my little WesLiz heart was hurting that they were broken up, I really liked that they were broken up because I got to learn who Wes is. I've loved Wes's sense of humor since Better Than the Movies, but it really started shining through with Nothing Like the Movies. Better Than the Movies gave Wes and Liz a great ending and gives the reader that happy-go-lucky rom-com-y sort of feeling. If you like the rom-com vibe that Better Than the Movies had and want to keep that version of Wes and Liz that way in your head, I'd say probably don't read Nothing Like the Movies. Because of that ending that we get with Better Than the Movies, as readers didn't really need a sequel, but for our characters, I think it was entirely necessary. We get to see how Liz deals with and looks at life now that she's not a hopeless romantic anymore, and we get to see them dealing with adulthood and facing deeper challenges as people rather than just characters in a rom-com. In total, I thoroughly enjoyed this book, probably more than Better Than the Movies, and that's saying a lot because I really enjoyed Better Than the Movies. Like I said earlier, I've been relating to Liz since Better Than the Movies, but I think I've come out of reading Nothing Like the Movies relating to her more. Seeing how she grapples with seeing Wes again for the first time in 2 years, and since she ultimately changed her look on life, her perspective, herself, really resonates with me because I've also had to undergo changes like that, and I've been in situations like that as well. And just them bringing back everything from the old version of yourself, it's a very bizarre feeling, but Lynn Painter writes it perfectly in here. Again, I really enjoyed seeing the depth added to the characters, Wes especially. Overall, this book rips through the lavender haze of Better Than the Movies and makes WesLiz feel more real and ultimately makes the story richer. So while a sequel definitely wasn't necessary for the plot, it was 100% worth it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate that you even clicked. If you've read Better Than the Movies and you enjoyed it, I would definitely recommend picking up this bad boy. As you can tell, I had some thoughts about it. Yes, I'll see you next week. Remember that Jesus loves you.